different ways to approach the paranormal when it comes to demonology. It's the most fascinating corner of the paranormal because you think about the most taboo, extreme type of paranormal activity would be with these types of hauntings. And I started to become emotionally invested to try to help this girl. And she would call me, and a bunch of these instances, she would start speaking in tongue. And they were occult symbols on the mirror, and she had carved an upside down cross on her pregnant belly while she was pregnant with a screwdriver. She would wake up and realize she had dirt in her fingers, and she was outside and clawing, in the dirt outside and sleepwalking. She had a young boy, and this boy would be influenced sometimes too. One night, she called me, and the young boy was running around the house and screaming, "The big bad wolf, the big bad wolf, mark of the beast 666. And all of a sudden I hear the kid go, "Look, mommy's floating." This stuff can really mess with you and ruin your life. And this poor girl and what she experienced was a perfect example of that. My name is Sean Austin. I am a demonologist, paranormal researcher, and medium. I've been investigating the paranormal for over 15 years. Definitely experienced some very unsettling, surreal experiences over through the years, and I'm here tonight in this very unique haunted location here in Illinois.
So, what was that? Where's Connor?
I'm in here, but I heard that behind me.
It's kind of weird timing for that noise. I was mentored in demonology by Ralph Sarchi. You may know the name. It was the inspiration for the 2015 film To Deliver Us from Evil, where Eric Bana played a cop. Ralph Sarchi, the real gentleman, he was an NYPD sergeant. He first worked with Ed and Lorraine Warren and was mentored under Malachi Martin and Bishop McKenna, which in my opinion were probably the most respected exorcists of our time. There's different ways to approach the paranormal when it comes to demonology. Obviously, people will go and investigate homes. I can actually deal with the situation when it comes to demonic infestations. I can perform exorcism rituals on locations if there's an infestation, but it would have to be a traditional Catholic priest for a solemn exorcism, which would be considered on an actual person. The different characteristics we look for if it would to be a genuine demonic haunting would be things like scratching on the walls, recurring nightmares, foul smells that don't have a rational explanation for it, things happening in threes, which could be a mockery of the Holy Trinity, things of that nature, people being marked in threes by unseen forces. But there's a bunch of different manifestations when it comes to that, but that's something that I'll be looking for that type of haunting. Being a demonologist and also the fact of actually being a medium and having discernment definitely puts me in a situation to be able to feel and see these entities and not just experience them on doing cases. I get visited by dark entities before I try to go help families because time is linear in the spiritual realm, it's all one thing. And they feel threatened, so they'll try to sway you from helping them out. They'll target you, they'll retaliate. So there's a lot of different things that these things do. They try to play games, a lot of it from the shadows. They don't want to be exposed for what they're trying to do. So that's why I would force them out if I was trying to help a family with religious provocation, which is the only provocation I would do with the intent to help people dealing with that sort of thing. Throughout all of my years of dealing with legitimate, genuine demonic hauntings, there was one case that actually stands out to me, and it's a very harrowing story, surreal in so many ways, and it was something straight out of a horror movie that you would hear, and I would think it would probably be the worst. And you think about the movie The Exorcist, and if you know a little bit about the story, that it was originally a boy, but they wanted the innocence of a female. That would be more, terrifying for a female to experience this. And this experience I had with this poor girl is she was demonically possessed while she was pregnant. And I would think that would probably be the worst type of situation, having to deal with spiritual warfare. So getting into that story a little bit is that this poor girl was abused as a child. And as she flourished into her teen years, in high school, she had told me that she was being she was bullied a lot in high school, and she reached out to a family member that was into dark magic, and they kind of geared her to mess with some of this stuff, and she ended up one night dripping some of her blood on a pentagram to try and take revenge against some of these bullies. And from what she told me, not long after, 3 of these bullies actually died in a car crash. Now fast forward, she ended up having 1 child, and later she would become pregnant again, and around this time was a time when I was learning about demonology. It was before I could even handle these cases, but I was reading about it. I was wanting to absorb all this information, and I think it's the most fascinating corner of the paranormal, because you think about the most taboo, extreme type of paranormal activity would be with these types of hauntings. So online, she actually saw an image that I put online somewhere of my friend getting scratched, and then started reaching out to me for help. And this started to go more in depth, and I started to become emotionally invested to try to help this girl. And the things that happened, that progressed over time, are just, I have no words with some of the stuff that I witnessed. She would wake up and realize she had dirt in her fingers, and she was outside and clawing, in the dirt outside and sleepwalking, and find the claw marks there later on. She would trance out and not remember what had happened before, and she would look up. She was in the bathroom, and they were occult symbols on the mirror, and she had carved an upside down cross on her pregnant belly while she was pregnant with a screwdriver. Now mind you, there was many phone calls that would come through during some of these conversations. I was in New York at the time, and this this poor girl, was in Mississippi at the time, and she would call me when this alleged entity would start to take over. And a bunch of these instances, she would start speaking in different languages. I couldn't understand some of it, but I actually decided to try to experiment with some of the voices that I recorded with hers, and I put it in reverse, and she was actually speaking English backwards. It was something that was so mind-blowing to me. It was just like the Exorcist movie, which I think that's what the priest was doing in the movie. And here I am experiencing this stuff. It gives me chills still thinking about it. One night she called me, and she's like, it's starting to come inside me, and I'm gonna lose consciousness. And I really didn't know what to do. Again, this was way above my spiritual pay grade, and I just started praying on the phone. And I have the recording, and we can play it for you if you want. I'll give you the recordings. You can put it on.
Yeah.
I'm praying over the phone, and then all of a sudden it gets silent. And then there you are, early 20s-year-old girl, and you hear her say, "Sean, she's mine," like in a man's voice, and it sounds distorted and strange.
Do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the divine power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits that roam throughout the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen.
I had a 6-inch crucifix on me, and she cannot see me on the phone. It's a normal phone conversation. I'm not video chatting or nothing. And as soon as I put the cross up to the phone, she hisses at me.
Is that a hiss?
And for me, it was a very defining moment to bring validation to my faith, because we're talking about something that's evil, that's reacting to something that's religiously significant like that, and to not be able to see me and react that way, it was so mind-blowing to me, and it was so chilling at the same time. Now, she had a young boy, it's only a few years old at the time, and this boy would be influenced sometimes too. He said that there was a little boy that would come up to him and would tell him he wants to come play with him, and he had died by the train tracks. And he would tell her son to take a fork and put it into the electrical socket so they can play together forever, or take all the pills and take all of them and say the same thing. He was trying to influence his kid to harm himself. Some of those nights that she had called me, one night she called me and the young boy was running around the house and screaming, "The big bad wolf, the big bad wolf, mark of the beast, 666. She's telling me, I don't even know what to do. What do I do, Sean? Now, mind you, I was reading books about demonology, I was learning, and what it is said by these priests in these books that I was reading is that demonic entities are fully incapable of saying the sentiment of "I love Jesus." So, as this kid's running around the house, I told her to say to her son, ask the big bad wolf if he can say "I love Jesus." All of a sudden the kid starts howling, running around the house, and over again, and all of a sudden she runs up to her and he's like, he wants to talk to you. I'm like, okay, great. So he gets on the phone, he's like, you better watch out tonight. He said, the big bad wolf just told me you better watch out in your sleep. He's gonna come to you in your sleep, bite your penis off, and spit it on your chest. A 3-year-old boy. There was another time where she called me, same thing, that this dark entity was going and coming inside her, and she was gonna lose consciousness, and it went silent. And I hear her 3-year-old boy in the background, and all of a sudden I hear the kid go, look, mommy's floating. And I had no words. I literally had to try to have the kid videotape what was going on, and he was taking selfie pictures of himself, but he was so young, I guess he just didn't understand what was going on. But there were so many instances of what was going on with this girl. So there was a symbol that showed up on her pregnant belly, and we had to ask an occult specialist to figure out what that symbol means. And we found it means infertility, and she's pregnant. And one night I also had a vision of her in the corner, her eyes were like lighting up in different colors, looking out into space. And I was sitting down, just like in this chair right now, and something was to the right of me, and I felt it bite down on my earlobe with sharp teeth. And it whispered in my ear and goes, "Estarte." And I woke up with the chills, no idea what that word means. And I looked up this name, and I find out this name is a demonic goddess of fertility. You see, there are so many things that were going on, not just what this girl was telling me. I was experiencing stuff. And actually, one of the times I was praying for her over the phone, I felt burning on my arm, and there were 13 slashes that showed up on my arm, which we can show you the image of it as well. But again, this is something that, was bringing my faith to a whole new level. When I was on the phone with her, I was just in shock so many times. I really just didn't know what to expect. I mean, when she started speaking different language to me, or if her child's like saying this disturbing thing to me, or if I'm on the phone with her and those slashes that showed up on my arm, I'm just like, I'm looking at it like trying to be skeptical, like I don't have a cat, there's no way that could have happened on my arm. And it stayed there for like a couple of days. It was just a shocking, unexpected turn of events. Every time she called me, it would be something else. I mean, she'd show me a picture of like stools that would be standing up on each other's legs, that the gravity doesn't even make sense. I mean, there were so many different weird things. I mean, I had videos of the scratching on the walls, the slow scratching on the walls. She'd talk about the foul smells, and there's a video of her just being scratched all over her back. There's a video of her while she's laying in bed while she's being choked, and you literally hear this voice saying, "It's Beelzebub," and the poor baby, the young son's like climbing over her and saying, "Mommy, wake up," and she's sitting there like choking in the bed. I mean, it's so horrible. It's so shocking.
Let's go. Talk to me, Mom. Talk to me.
And it got worse and worse. And this poor girl, she gave birth to this child. I had a priest there. I was so worried about something happening to the baby. I had a priest at the hospital, and I have video of it, of the poor baby getting baptized, because I was so scared that this evil entity or whatever was associated with this dark magic that this poor girl did, something was going to happen to the baby. And this baby had complications, breathing problems, all sorts of stuff. It was very harrowing through this whole process. And tragically, this baby ended up passing away. And I look for all sorts of like symbolic things of that sort. And the baby lived for 18 months. And I thought to myself, okay, what's 6 plus 6 plus 6? 18 months. That can't be a coincidence. And you think about the nature of, young girls or kids that mess around with this stuff, and they really just don't know the stakes that are at hand. It might be interesting, and it is interesting and it's fascinating, but it's truly dangerous. This stuff is endlessly fascinating, but there's real stuff that can go on. This stuff can really mess with you and ruin your life. And this poor girl and what she experienced was a perfect example of that. Her other child is okay, and it seemed whatever was in her started to go dormant. I do not think it's gone. I did visit her in person, and it seemed like the entity was still there. It didn't like the fact that I was there. But I don't feel like it's fully gone, but it seemed like as soon as the baby passed away, the really heightened part of the activity started to dissipate and take a step back. For whatever it is, it was connected to that baby. But I hope, with my intentions and my actions and having that priest there and baptizing that child, hopefully the soul of that child was protected. I definitely believe that this baby was connected to the offering that she may have done that one evening and dripping her blood on the pentagram. It wanted that taken up from her, and that was definitely some sort of payment. How much more in depth that goes, I don't know. We can only theorize from there, but I definitely believe that 100%. One of the times she actually did video chat me, and she was telling me it's trying to get inside her. And I'm on Skype at the time, and all of a sudden, the phone started to glitch, and I saw her face changing, and I actually took a screenshot, and it looked like her face was changing into something else. And when I looked over her shoulder, it looks like there's a side profile of a red-eyed shadow figure's face and mouth right over her shoulder. And then that's when the whole thing went dark. I just really didn't understand what was gonna happen next. When she would call me, I just feel all this anxiousness, and I'm like, I really don't even know what's gonna happen, but I felt it was important to try to document anything I could in case I could use that in the future to use for bringing spiritual awareness or to help her along with her case that was going on. Again, I was at a place where I was learning and reading, but not a place to really help someone of that nature. She was pregnant. I mean, I was telling people about this case, and no one wanted to touch it with a 10-foot pole, because think about the story of Annalise. That was the inspiration for the Exorcism of Emily Rose. I think, if I stand correct, they went on to court for negligent homicide because she starved herself to death and wanted to blame the exorcisms on what had happened to the girl. And then you think about, okay, what if I try to help this girl and have a priest get involved, and then I could get blamed for something that happens to the baby. I mean, it's scary stuff, but at the same time, I was so emotionally invested to help this girl. She wanted help, and if I saw anyone on the side of the road, I'd want to help them. It was just very, very sad, very harrowing, and it was also a learning experience for me at the same time, and it geared me for what was to come further into my paranormal journey. But I think it's important to share these stories to let people know that this stuff is real, and there's real stakes, there's real danger with what we get involved with here. We all take risks involving ourselves in the paranormal, and this girl had a real hard lesson of what happened to her. And from what I understand and learning about it to this present day, this happens to a lot of females that may have complications with their birth later on in life if they messed around with some sort of dark magic.
So what was the biggest lesson or takeaway for you? Because it was kind of early on in your journey, right?
Well, for me, number one, it really took my faith to a whole new level because of those experiences I had with her and protecting myself and seeing these things react in the way that they did, involving her and when it was speaking to me on the phone and how I was being attacked and not liking these prayers, but also realizing how real this stuff was. Because again, we all sit there at home, we watch these movies, we grow up, and we believe in this stuff. Maybe you're open to it, But these days, with all the side effects and the stuff that can go on in movies, you have a first-hand experience where you have no rational explanation for it. That's why we call it the unexplained. And when you experience something like that, and you experience something true evil, and you have no rational explanation for it, you're going to be really scratching your head about that. And this is something that has taken me on my journey further into the paranormal. Now, interesting enough, you know, I have 2 books that I wrote, and they're called Shadow Chaser and Shadow Chaser the In-Between. Now, I didn't just call those books just to have a cool name. A good friend of mine spoke to a psychic who doesn't know what I do, who I am, and she's like, what are your psychic impressions of him? And you know what she said? She said, he's a shadow chaser. He's meant to take shadows and send them back to where they belong. And that rang true to me, and that's been a reoccurring theme in my paranormal journey. And it seems like this stuff is a calling. That's what I've been told when I first started going on podcasts about the paranormal. This is what people are telling me. You have a calling to deal with these dark things. It's something that Ed Warren from the Inspiration of the Conjuring would tell. It's a calling. It's not something like next Tuesday, I feel like I'm going to go be a demonologist. This stuff comes to you. The universe opens up these doors, these pathways, and these things start coming to you, and you get involved with it. It draws you in. And it's definitely been that experience for me up into this present day. Well, I think it's important to know that you can't battle these things with physical muscles or weapons. It's your spirituality. We're dealing with this spiritual element. So I ask anyone who gets involved in this stuff, even if you're skeptical about, you know, religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs, is that if you believe in spirits, wouldn't you believe in a higher power? And where does that really lead you from a spiritual standpoint? Now, how do you protect yourself? Now, everyone's got different methods. I don't judge anyone as a different belief system than me, but you need to find some sort of spiritual foundation for yourself to protect yourself. And obviously, I was brought up Catholic, and that's how I approach these cases and the investigations, and that's how I've protected myself up until this point. I have witnessed many times with evil scurrying away and recoiling because of, you know, my faith and my confidence in my faith and prayer and everything I do. I wear this St. Michael pendant around me right now. It's actually been touched by the relic of the true cross Jesus was crucified on, a fragment of that, and anything it touches is considered a third-class relic. I believe Lorraine Warren had one of those fragments as well, and this never leaves my neck unless it's an emergency. It's very easy to sit on the outside and say that's phony and stuff like that. I'm sure demons thrown around very easily in a lot of these videos, but until you actually see it up close and personal, you know, us involving ourselves in the paranormal, you know, sitting here, it's not just sitting here for like an hour or two. No, we sit here for like 8-10 hours a night and do it days in a row. You know, it takes its toll, and this stuff is real as me breathing in oxygen right now. And again, when you witness it firsthand, that's a different story rather than just watching, you know, from your TV screens or online or in a movie. You know, you do this stuff long enough.
What was that?
That's been another noise in the back of the kitchen.
Something in here.
That's weird. You do this stuff long enough, you'll have an experience, which I'm sure you too, Colin. I mean, you know, all of us, we sit here, we're passionate about the paranormal, we do it long enough. This isn't a matter of believing anymore, it's a knowing. And for me, it's a knowing about the paranormal, and obviously my spirituality is in that place too. Do I believe in God? No. To me, I know God exists because I've had so many firsthand experiences that it's just undeniable. And the unexplained have answers. And if you go out and search for it, it will come search for you at some point. Yeah, on YouTube, I'm Sean Austin Paranormal, SeanAustin Paranormal. Otherwise, most of my handles are just Sean D. Austin. And I know you use the SPI app. I'm sure we'll use it at some point. And that's a really unique thing that I came up with too. So regarding the SPI app, which is Spirit Phone Innovations, currently on iOS, about a decade ago, I became really fascinated about EVPs. And I was doing research on it, and I realized that there were audio forensic analysis looking at actually pieces of audio and paranormal investigations, and they were looking at the voices on a piece of audio, and they agreed that this voice on a piece of audio was a human voice, but the frequency behind that voice is scientifically impossible to be a human voice. Only like a kick drum of a drum set could be hitting on this frequency. So I'd come up with this idea like 10 years ago. What if there was some sort of software that could do like a text-to-speech concept that actually listens to the audio and interprets the EVPs for us, but only looks for a bracket of frequencies in these Class A EVPs that are outside the human speech frequencies. So that's literally what it does specifically in the SAM mode of the SPI software. It's listening for EVPs and using AI text-to-speech, and if it's listening right now, it cancels out my voice, and it's looking for any dissemination of words, like EVPs, that are loud enough that are not human. It's only for looking for non-human frequencies, and it has the ability to say anything. There's no word banks, like no limitations like these other typical devices out there. I wanted to have something that has the ability to say anything, because if you limit the ability to what the spirits can say, you limit the communication, the research, and the investigation as a whole. I really wanted to create something that advances the abilities and I want to continue to innovate that idea.
Cool, man. Well, this is the end of the interview, but we are about to investigate this infamous house. So, if people want to watch what's about to happen next, I don't know if that'll be posted first or this will be posted first, but let's do this, man.
Yeah.